Suicide Squad is really, really bad.
Really, really bad.
Really, really bad.
So that's it? What, we some kind of suicide squad?
He said it! He said it!
Really, really bad.
I mean, it's definitely not the worst movie that I've ever seen. It's not the worst DC movie ever. Batman Robin is pretty terrible. Batman Forever is pretty awful. Green Lantern, wow. But it's like this movie was the one. This was the get down on one knee and ask it to marry me. This was the movie that was going to bring back the DCEU, and it was going to be the shining light of hope for the DC cinematic universe. It's just like what? Like, look at the first trailer. Look at some of the moments from this first trailer. It's just like... Listen, Suicide Squad is an awful movie. I think a lot of DC fans are defending this movie because they are insecure over the success of the Marvel films. Don't be. In my opinion, DC is the superior comic book company. I think it has the stronger characters. Just look at what they're doing with the comics right now. The DC Rebirth has been awesome. Marvel Comics, Nazi Captain America, Civil War 2. Nobody's reading it. DC fans, stop defending shitty movies, okay? It's not about, Suicide Squad is a comic book movie. If you don't read comic books, then you don't get it. If you read comic books, you should fucking hate this, because the comic books for DC are well written. This wasn't well written. Apparently David Ayers only had 6 months to work on the script. 6 months? 6 weeks to work on the script. You try and write a movie in 6 weeks. You know how long the Russo brothers had for Civil War? They had a year. And that movie is not necessarily the greatest story ever told, but it's fun. It's coherent. It has something to say. It has a message. Suicide Squad, what is this movie?
Really, really bad.
Suicide Squad, Amanda Waller is a government official who believes that metahumans are a threat to the world. She says, what if Superman went rogue? How would we stop him? Oh, I don't know, maybe call Batman? That seemed to work in the last movie.
You were never a god.
Jesus Christ. The whole idea of the movie is to create a Black Ops team of supervillains by blackmailing them with a tiny microbomb that is implanted inside their neck, and it will explode if they decide to go rogue. The problem is with this team is that it's supposed to be a team that's going to stop metahumans. Nobody on the team is a metahuman except El Diablo, who I thought was the worst character in the movie. Well, Enchantress might be the worst. What the fuck was happening? Why was she pop, lock, and dropping in the... Deadshot, not a metahuman. Harley Quinn, definitely not a metahuman. They're like, oh, she's freaking crazy. She's out of her mind. Yeah, sign her up for the Black Ops team that's going to defeat Superman. These are the people you want to call when you need to defeat Superman. Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Boomerang. It's ridiculous. I love the Suicide Squad comics, and I love the idea of Suicide Squad, a Black Ops team of supervillains. Just the concept. It's like, and when they released the first trailer, it was like, this is gonna be so good. The movie is just so ridiculous. It's so stupid to its core. Is it fun? Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun train wreck. It's fun like watching a train wreck. Seriously, it's like you see two trains coming at each other and colliding. It's fun like watching a disaster. Now, the first 20 minutes are very cool. The whole introductions to the characters. You get to see like their powers and what they've done to earn, the reputations of being supervillains. But after the first 20 minutes are up, the movie just descends into a third act of chaos. Will Smith as Deadshot, excellent. They actually tried to give some depth and characterization to this B-list Batman villain, who becomes one of the most heroic figures in the DCEU, it's just fucking insane. All the characters in this movie share a buttload of cringeworthy lines and dialogue, but Will Smith does a really good job of trying to lead the Suicide Squad and lead this movie out of mediocrity, which he can't do. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is terrific. This is one of the castings that It's almost too good to be true. Like Idris Elba as Jon Stewart. Please make that happen. Tyrese Gibson, are you serious? It's still amazing to me that Harley Quinn was featured in a blockbuster film, a character that originated on the Batman animated series created by Bruce Timm, and then was eventually assimilated into the continuity of DC Comics. This was a side character on the Batman animated series, and now it's being played by one of the biggest actresses in the world. And as a DC fan, it's just such an awesome moment. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller was criminally underused because, to me, I think this is the most interesting character in Suicide Squad. The thing that makes Amanda Waller so interesting is that she is the prototypical anti-hero in this movie. She is probably one of the more gray characters in the film. She's a government agent who assembles this team in the name of national security, but she's very arrogant. She could be a narcissist. She's obsessed with power, and she's very manipulative. There's a great scene between her and Rick Flag where he's like, I didn't believe the stories about you. And Amanda Waller's like, nobody does, because I'm the fucking boss. And all the villains on the team come to really respect her and even like her by the end of the movie. Now, Waller is the character that I was most excited for when this movie was announced because I always loved the dynamic between her and Batman. The way that they go at each other intellectually and her going at Batman from the perspective of a normal citizen. I don't really think you get to see the best of Amanda Waller and her intellectual prowess in this movie except for the very beginning. And believe it or not, I like the Joker. I liked Jared Leto as the Joker. I know a lot of people who liked the movie didn't like Jared Leto, and I know people who didn't like the movie definitely did not like Jared Leto as the Joker. Now, he's barely in the movie. They promoted this character like he was possibly going to be the villain of the movie, maybe play a Hannibal Lecter role where he's advising the members of the Suicide Squad or Amanda Waller. I thought Jared Leto did a good job with the Joker. I don't think there's enough footage to really determine whether he would be a good Joker in a Batman film, but I liked the way that he was going. It wasn't as authentic or organic as Heath Ledger's Joker. They're two very different incarnations of the villain. Heath Ledger's Joker was more subtle, more sociopathic. This Joker seemed like a pure psychopath. And the movie inside the movie that I much rather would have seen was the relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn, the origins of how the Joker convinces her to fall in love with him. I think that's one of the most beautiful aspects of the character is that he's this intellectual psychopath capable of manipulating all the people around him and then just pulling out a gun and shooting you in the face. It's inevitable that it's going to be compared to Jack Nicholson, to Heath Ledger. I think Heath Ledger is the best Joker by far, but I liked where they were going with this character. I really did. I liked the mannerisms. I liked the way he looked, regardless of the tattoos and the chains and the grills. I didn't like the whole... He kept like growling in a lot of scenes. That was kind of weird. You know, it was over the top, but it felt like the Joker to me. I thought his lines of dialogue could have been a bit more clever, but he literally has no business being in this movie except for the promotion of the film. It's one of the many unnecessary or poorly written subplots of the film. The plot as a whole is extremely bland and cliche and really doesn't serve the concept of a Black Ops team properly. A movie like this should have been on a much smaller scale, focusing on the enigmatic characters and personalities on the team. It's a character film that turns into Justice League Dark with no true second act, and one of the worst villains in comic book movie history, Enchantress, who is just so out of place in this movie. It's really one of the worst film villains in recent memory. I mean, the third act, when they actually fight her, it makes no sense how these normal people would be able to defeat her when previously in the film she's shown using magic and teleportation. I mean, she literally goes to Iran and back in 3 seconds and steals like their nuclear plans. She looked horrible, the acting was so cringeworthy, and the final fight was just a CGI slugfest. It looks like 2005 CGI. If this movie would have came out in the early 2000s, it would have been like, oh, the special effects are kind of cool. But how many times are we going to see in movies the giant laser shooting into the sky that's going to destroy the world? Is that really the plot that you were going for in a Suicide Squad movie, where they have to save the entire world against some machine that's never really fully explained, against a villain that is so powerful, yet they are able to kill her by throwing a bomb in the middle of her machine thing? And why do you have to shoot the bomb, Deadshot? It's a bomb. It's going to explode. The chemistry between the actors, I felt like the actors had good chemistry. It's just the dialogue was just so bad. One moment in particular is the bar scene. They're all sitting around the bar talking about their past and how society looks at them, and there's a moment where El Diablo describes how he murdered his own family because he loses control of his power. It's a moment that's supposed to make you feel sympathetic for these characters even though they are villains. The lines are just so stupid. It's so unnatural and forced. You know, when Harley Quinn is like, "We're bad. You gotta own that shit." And Boomerang's like, "Oh, every time you open your mouth, it's like a knife fight." And then Rick Flag comes in and he hands Will Smith the letters that his daughter has been writing to him while he's in jail. So many of the interactions between the characters feel forced and unnatural, and that's going to be a problem when you only give your writer 6 weeks to complete a script. Ayers does a poor job of developing a unity between this team, so when they finally reach the third act and they begin to make sacrifices for their teammates, it feels disingenuous because these characters as individuals never get to form relationships and create an organic companionship. When El Diablo tells Enchantress that she will not take his new family away from him, I thought to myself, dude, you've only known these people for 3 fucking hours and now you're family because you had a drink with them? It's a very confusing dynamic between the characters, and the action doesn't help you take your mind off the very cringeworthy chemistry. It's very boring and by the numbers, and at times it's really hard to follow what's going on. Harley Quinn is literally fighting zombies with a baseball bat. Deadshot is looking like Soldier 76 and somehow acquires an aimbot. I'm surprised he didn't get kicked out of the movie. Boomerang is hitting on Katana the entire film. At least Batman and Superman ends on a high note with great action sequences. The comedy is actually well done in this movie, but once again, like the 2 previous installments in the DCEU, the comedy is not the problem, even though those 2 movies didn't really have comedy. It's the drama. The dramatic moments are either boring, cheesy, or unnecessary to the plot. This movie really doesn't have a plot. Suicide Squad should have been a more raw and gritty, almost a black comedy type film, where you use the Black Ops team to help the US government defeat an actual human threat, not a 6,000-year-old witch who dances like Taylor Swift at the BET Awards. And whose idea was it to put Killer Croc in this movie over Deathstroke, Killer Frost, or even Cheetah? The music cues are so out of place in this movie. It's the quintessential, this is how you're supposed to feel, so I'm going to play a song. You're just getting music from every different type of genre, and the songs are good individually, much like the characters in this movie, but when they're put together, it's just a mess.
Really, really bad.
There were so many bizarre and uncomfortable scenes in this movie.
Really, really bad.
Like, how did Scott Eastwood's character even know where to place the bomb under Enchantress's brother? And why was the Joker texting Harley Quinn like he was her mom picking her up from soccer practice?
I can't wait to show you my toys.
And why did Deadshot feel the need to constantly remind us that he was a hitman and that he wasn't a good guy and that he's a bad guy?
For those of us who don't speak good guy,
Don't forget, we're the bad guys.
It's like, Will Smith, we get it. You're playing the villain for the first time in your life.
we're the patsies. We're some kind of suicide squad.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
The whole movie is just a jumbled up mess, and overall I would have to give this movie a 2 out of 10. I don't understand why DC fans have to be so insecure about their films. They really should be demanding quality movies. The Dark Knight trilogy is still the gold standard for superhero films. It's time that Warner Brothers and DC got back to that. These movies are not good. They're not quality films. I will never watch this movie again in my life. The only way you could get me to watch this is if you do like the Clockwork Orange torture, where you just pin my eyes open and force me to watch it, because this movie is horrible.
So that's it. What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Oh, that's why they call it that.